Army Sergeant Russell Powell had no idea of his exposure to a deadly chemical until after returning home from Iraq.
Within 3 days of arriving at the plant in April 2003, I developed rashes on my knuckles, hands, and forearms. It's disheartening to know that I may not be able to see my sons graduate from high school or college, get married, or hold my grandchildren because of this completely avoidable exposure.
The enemy was Saddam Hussein's fleeing troops and the poison they left behind. Hussein's army had taken bags of sodium dichromate, a rust inhibitor and a known carcinogen, and spread them around the Karmat Ali water treatment facility near Basra back in 2003. Powell is only one of hundreds of U.S. soldiers exposed to the deadly chemical while providing security for KBR, the military's largest private contractor. KBR was tasked with rebuilding the facility.
We were told by KBR that the sodium dichromate was a mild irritant and that one would have to literally bathe in it for any toxicity to occur.
I have constant headaches, constant chest pain with skipped beats, shortness of breath due to the lower edge of my lungs being collapsed, extreme fatigue, periodic skin rashes, inability to sweat, periodic vomiting without nausea, loss of feeling on my left side and torso, high blood sugar, episodes of kidney stones.
Before my service in Iraq, I was physically fit. I used to run several miles without much effort. But now I have trouble walking from my house to my car, and I simply just run out of breath.
Anyone who has served in the infantry realizes that an infantryman does not complain to the chain of command about bloody noses or coughs. You assume that if you're really in danger, that you will be told.
3 times the amount of sodium dichromate considered safe under military exposure guidelines was found at Karmat Ali.
You saw a written document dated sometime in May 2003 from Mr. Duhan confirming presence of sodium dichromate at the site.
Yes, in a particular area, in the agitated area, yes.
You saw a piece of paper documenting that?
Yes.
I know without question that they were keenly aware of the circumstances.
KBR knew that the chemical was on site, according to internal company documents. But it took months for the company to respond and years for the soldiers to find out that they'd been exposed.
They made a conscious decision to continue to expose my colleagues, the Iraqi workers, the American military personnel, and the British security force we had at the plant to what were horrific, unsafe conditions.
It wasn't until weeks after KBR paved over the toxic areas that the Army began testing its soldiers. By the time the test was administered, it was too late.
An analogy is like giving a breathalyzer test to a person 3 days after they were pulled over for erratic driving. The toxic would have been eliminated from the body in the intervening period. Nasal perforations, bloody noses, and skin irritations would be far more telling about the soldiers' and workers' exposures than measures of chromium in red blood cells taken a month after remediation has taken place.
Based on these tests, the Department of Veterans Affairs is withholding medical benefits from the exposed soldiers who struggle to afford costly medical care.
He let us know that, by the way, if you're going to take these blood tests back and think you're going to file a suit on KBR, you're just wasting your time because it's not going to work.
The victims went to Capitol Hill. Senator Byron, Dorgan, and the Democratic Policy Committee are taking up the case. But the DPC does not possess the congressional oversight powers of standing Senate committees. They cannot ensure accountability for sick veterans.
The hearings I have held demonstrate that I think we see the largest amount of waste, fraud, and abuse in the history of this country in recent years. Some of the stories are almost unbelievable, but when the facts are there, it's hard not to believe them.
As a result, KBR, which remains the largest private contractor in Iraq and Afghanistan, continues to rake in billions in taxpayer dollars.
I personally feel that it's outrageous that American tax dollars are the source of the funding.
KBR received bonuses from the Defense Department for its work at Karmat Ali despite its failure to protect U.S. soldiers.
The big question is, has KBR become too big to fail? Has it become so entrenched in our military efforts overseas that it's immune from prosecution, that it's immune from accountability?
For KBR, Karmat Ali is just the latest in a string of scandals. They include overbilling, accepting kickbacks, human trafficking, and sexual assault.
Did you participate in meetings with on-site workers about what they had been exposed to?
Define meeting. Did I walk out there on the job site and those guys asked me questions and we talked to them about it? Is that a meeting? Then I'm asking you for your definition of meeting so I'm not trying to be difficult, but if I walked on the job site and someone asked me about it and I discussed it with them, is that a meeting? If so, yes.
Senator Dorgan and the DPC have done everything they can. They're essentially a toothless committee because they lack the congressional oversight powers of a standing Senate committee. And the committee that does have the power to investigate and hold KBR accountable, namely the Senate Armed Services Committee chaired by Carl Levin, has been virtually silent on this issue and have really left these soldiers out to dry.